In an old stone city, long before smartphones and schedules, people still lived by time. Not the time on a wristwatch, but the time in the sky, the time in the market, and most of all, the time in the clock tower. At the center of the city stood a tall tower with a giant clock face. Every hour, a bell rang so loud that even fishermen on the river could hear it. The city trusted that bell. Merchants opened their stalls by it, students began class by it, guards changed shifts by it, and one man protected it. His name was Master Alden, the clockmaker. He was old, patient, and precise. His hands moved slowly, but never carelessly. People said he could hear when a gear was unhappy, and for many years the clock never failed, not once. One spring, Master Alden took an apprentice, a young man named Leo. Leo was talented. He learned fast. He could take apart a small mechanism and rebuild it without losing a single screw. But Leo had a weakness that many talented people share. He hated repetition. Every morning, Master Alden made him do the same task: climb the narrow spiral stairs, open the iron door, wind the clock mechanism slowly until it clicked in a certain way, then oil 2 gears, then check 3 bolts, then close the door. It took time, it was quiet, and it looked to Leo like the same boring ritual every day. After a week, Leo complained. "Master," he said, "I understand how the clock works. I can fix it if it breaks. Why must I do this every day?" Master Alden didn't argue. He just asked one question. "Leo, does the city need you only when things break?" Leo hesitated. Master Alden said, "Discipline is not repair. Discipline is prevention." Leo nodded politely, but inside he still thought, "This is too much for such a simple machine." Then came Festival Day. Once a year, the city held a spring festival. The main square filled with lanterns, music, and bright cloth banners dancing in the wind. Travelers came from neighboring towns. Street performers arrived early. Even the mayor stood on a balcony to greet the crowd. And that day, the city's most important event was scheduled exactly at noon. The drawbridge over the river would open to let trading ships pass, then close again for the parade to cross. Everything depended on timing. Because if the bridge opened late, ships would crash, and if it closed late, thousands of people would be stuck in the wrong place, packed together like grain in a sack. The mayor himself sent a message to the clock tower. "Master Alden, the bell must ring precisely today." Master Alden simply replied, "It always does." That morning, Leo woke up late. The festival noise had kept him awake at night. He felt heavy and irritated. He looked out the window and saw crowds already pouring into the streets. And a dangerous thought entered his mind. Just once, skipping won't matter. He told himself, "The clock is fine. I wound it yesterday. Master Alden is nearby. If anything happens, he'll handle it. And I deserve one morning to enjoy the festival like everyone else." Leo put on his coat and ran toward the square. He tasted sweet bread from a vendor. He watched jugglers toss knives into the air. He heard laughter, music, and the rolling drums of the parade practice. For the first time in days, Leo felt free. Then, a shadow passed over the sun. The wind shifted, and the air turned cold. Fog began to creep in from the river like a living thing. Someone in the crowd said, "That came fast." Another person laughed nervously. "It will pass." But the fog thickened, and the river, suddenly hidden, became dangerous. Leo turned his head toward the clock tower. High above, the clock hands moved. The city waited for the noon bell. And then the moment came. Noon arrived, but the bell did not ring. At first, people didn't notice. Then one merchant said, "Is it noon?" Another said, "It should have rung." The mayor looked up. The guards looked up. The crowd looked up. Silence. And in that silence, panic began to form. Because when people lose time, they lose order. Then chaos rolled like a wheel downhill. At the river, ship captains were relying on that bell to know when the bridge would open. In the fog, they couldn't see the bridge clearly. They could only hear, and they heard nothing. Meanwhile, the crowd near the bridge began to pack tightly, waiting for the parade to cross. People pushed forward to get a better view. Children cried, a few fell. The density of the crowd increased, and it only takes a small spark to turn a dense crowd into a stampede. Leo felt his throat tighten. His festival joy turned to ice. He ran. He ran through the crowd, through the fog, up the stone steps of the clock tower. His lungs burned. His shoes slipped on damp stone. He reached the iron door. He pulled it open, and his stomach dropped. The mechanism had stopped. A gear was jammed, and beside it, the winding chain hung loose. Leo's hands shook. He grabbed the chain and began winding too fast. The gear bit his skin. He hissed in pain. He tried again. The clock coughed like an old man waking up and moved. Leo frantically oiled the gears, tightened bolts, pushed the jammed tooth back into place. Finally, the clock resumed. Leo glanced at the clock face. It was past noon. The bell would ring late, and the city would blame the clockmaker. Leo's shame became unbearable. He stumbled down the stairs and burst into the square. Fog, yelling, confusion. Then he saw Master Alden near the bridge, calm, watching the crowd like a man reading a storm. Leo ran to him, breathless. "Master," Leo cried, I didn't wind it this morning. The clock stopped. I fixed it, but it's late. The bell will ring late." Master Alden looked at him quietly. Then, to Leo's surprise, he said, "Good." Leo blinked. "Good?" Master Alden placed a hand on Leo's shoulder, steady and heavy. "Listen," Master Alden said. "Listen to the river." Leo strained his ears, and then he heard it. A deep wooden groan from the drawbridge. In the fog, one of the trading ships had approached too early. It hit the current at a bad angle, drifting toward the bridge. If the drawbridge had opened on time, the ship would have tried to pass. But because the bell didn't ring, the bridge operators delayed the opening. And because they delayed, the ship struck the outer guideposts instead, hard, but not fatally. The ship rocked and scraped wood. Men shouted, but it did not pass under the bridge at the wrong moment. A worse collision had been avoided. And then something else happened. Because the bell didn't ring, the parade was delayed too. The crowd that was about to pack tightly onto the bridge began to spread out, confused, stepping back, wandering to other streets. The dangerous pressure of the crowd loosened. A stampede was avoided. Slowly, order returned. The fog thinned. The bridge operators opened the drawbridge carefully once the ship was secured. And only then the clock tower bell rang. Late. But the city, strangely, felt relief, not anger. Because without realizing it, they had just been spared. Leo stood frozen. His legs felt weak. He whispered, "Master, I caused this. I almost destroyed everything." Master Alden replied softly, "No, Leo." Then he pointed toward the clock tower. "Do you know why I make you wind the clock the same way every day?" Leo didn't answer. Master Alden said, "Because discipline trains your hands so your panic doesn't control them when it matters." He paused. "And do you know why the clock stopped today?" Leo swallowed. "Because I skipped." Master Alden nodded. "Yes, you skipped, and the clock stopped." Leo lowered his head. Master Alden continued, "But here is the part you don't see yet." He leaned in and spoke quietly so only Leo could hear. "That clock is designed to run 1 minute slow if it's wound incorrectly, or not wound at all." Leo stared up sharply. "What?" Master Alden's eyes were calm. "I built that fault on purpose, a small failure to prevent a catastrophe." Leo was stunned. Master Alden said, "Years ago, on a foggy festival day like this, a ship passed under the bridge at the wrong time. People died." He inhaled slowly. "So I promised myself, never again." Leo's voice trembled. "So the discipline wasn't just tradition?" Master Alden shook his head. "Discipline is never just tradition. It's love built into routine. It's protection disguised as repetition." Leo stared at the crowd, now safe, now laughing again. His chest felt tight. He whispered, "Then what is the real lesson?" Master Alden said, "Talent is what you can do when you feel like it, but discipline is what you do when the fog comes." Leo's eyes filled with tears, not from sadness, but from awakening, because for the first time he understood. Some routines look small until the day they save a life. From that day on, Leo never skipped the clock, not because he feared punishment, but because he finally respected the invisible cost of carelessness. And every morning, when he wound the chain and heard the click, he remembered the fog, he remembered the silence, he remembered the moment the city almost lost control. And he held on to one principle. Discipline is not for the days when things are easy. Discipline is for the day when timing decides everything. So if your routine feels boring, good. That means it's working. Because the most powerful form of discipline is quiet. It doesn't shout. It doesn't impress. It simply prevents your life from falling apart at the wrong moment. Light the lantern, wind the clock, do the small thing before the fog arrives.